ഒരു തുള്ളി വെള്ളം ഒഴിച്ചാൽ മതി.
Okay, good morning all of you. Dear participants, good morning. We welcome you all on behalf of our BMR Institute of Engineering and Technology. Today's session, we hope you are all receiving nice information. Thank you for your support. Kindly fill the feedback and feedback form for the certification process. Certificates will be issued to the candidates only after submission of feedback forms. The feedback forms will place in chat box and your groups, individual groups. Okay. These feedbacks forms will be placed in last 15 minutes. Finally, I thank you for your support. Kindly fill the above said forms. Okay. I hope you will enjoy and learn by learning the today's program. Okay. I think today's session includes resume writing. Am I right, sir? Suresh Karan?
Resume writing.
Resume writing.
Right.
Okay. All the best. Thank you. I hand over the session to the Suresh Karu.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So currently we have 180 plus participants. I think it is still growing. Okay. Hope all of you are ready. You can listen to me.
Yes, sir. You can just revise this 2-3 minutes yesterday's class, sir.
Okay. Yes, I'll do that. And just for the benefit of all the people who have just joined and who have missed the initial phase of my presentation, I would like to just summarize what I spoke yesterday. Yesterday I spoke about we spent all our time discussing employability skills. So let us now spend some time on it. One second. Hope all of you can see the board. So the title of our program is Employability Skills. So in yesterday's program, we spent our time on discussing what are the skills that we have to update. So if you remember, we focused on 4 points. We focused on discussing what do you mean by employability skills, and do we really need them? Why do we need them? So what are employability skills? Do we need them? And we also spent a few minutes on improvement, how to improve them. We'll spend some more time today improving your employability skills. And finally, we discussed how to represent all our employability skills in our resume. So these are the 4 points we started with. Yesterday we finished 3 points, and today we are going to do resume. And coming to improvement, I told you yesterday, all the skills which we mentioned yesterday are the skills what you have to possess or you have to develop. And this 1.5 hour program or 1 hour program is not sufficient to conduct some kind of training program of how to improve all your employability skills. So we are going to focus only a few. At the end of this program, we'll focus on a few areas where you can practice. And we discussed how to improve. So we discussed the 4 steps, how to improve them. So in these 4 steps, the first point we discussed is all the details we discussed here, all the points we discussed here, or all the steps what we discussed here are not meant to make you someone else. It is to make yourselves better than before. So you can become better than before only if you improve your skills. So this is what we discussed yesterday. This is the conclusion we have come. So once that part is over, we came to the last point. Okay, we have got all the good skills. Then how do people come to know? People means how does the market come to know about it? So unless the market knows that there is a person like you in the market, they won't be able to reach you. They can't reach you. Neither you can reach them. So there must be some kind of bridge between the product and the market. So in a real-time market, we discussed it. In a real-time market, yesterday we discussed that point. In a real-time market, you come to know about the product. You come to know about the product because of an ad. In our job market, so we are currently talking about job market. In our job market, who is the product? You are the product. So you will be come to know, or the market comes to know about you again because of the same component called advertisement. And in your case, the advertisement is your resume. So that's why we are going to conclude this employability program with resume writing. So today we are going to focus on a few aspects of how to build a resume. So most of the people take resume writing very lightly. And I have seen thousands of students, and I've seen students who produce their resume on the day of recruitment, on the day of the placement drive. I have seen people who copy their friend's resume and fill their data into the resume. So resume is not that kind of a document. Resume is a very serious document. So that's why we are going to spend today's time, today's class, or today's session on the aspects of resume writing. So we'll let us now go to our program. Hope my point is clear. So I have set the context for today's program. So resume writing, the importance of, yesterday we discussed the importance of a resume in a profession's life. And most of the people think that, most of the students, especially students, think that we need resume only during the initial stages of our employment, that is to get into a company. And some people even ask me, students ask me, sir, you are bringing companies to the college, you are giving our data to them, and they are not taking our resumes, then why should we write it? There are no such companies. Even we, the college gives the data. At the time of the interview, they ask you to produce a resume. So currently, we don't have any recruitment interviews where the recruiter doesn't ask your resume. So try to spend some time on understanding what is the importance of resume. See, people think it very lightly. It is actually not a silly document. It is an important document. And I've seen plenty of people taking it very lightly. And in many instances, in many situations, their casualness has cost them a job. So it is a very serious document. So that's why we are spending time on understanding the importance of a resume and the ways how to develop a good resume. So that is what we are going to do today. So let us start our class today. So I'm straight away going into the aspects of resume. So currently we know we need a resume. And many people, actually, I was talking to you about the point. Many people think that we need a resume only in the beginning of our career, but that's not the case. Even after acquiring 5 years or 10 years of experience, if you want to switch to a new job, you need a resume. So this resume is going to be a fixed document. Okay, you may not require it after your retirement, but there are people who use it even after retirement. So after post-retirement job, if you want to go for a post-retirement job, you need a resume. So resume is a document that speaks about you. So you take a lot of care about your dress because it projects you in a decent manner in the society. Similarly, you take some professionals. They look at the way they design their visiting cards. So the card speaks about them. Similarly, your resume also speaks about you. So resume is a very important document. Now let us go to our presentation. So in this presentation, we are going to focus on 3 core areas. So why do we need a resume? What is a resume? And how to build a resume? This is precisely what we are going to do. I think I have already answered the first question. So do we really need a resume? Our yesterday's discussion will help you to come to a decision. In our yesterday's discussion, we have understood about ourselves, why we are discussing employability skills is a point we discussed yesterday. So employability skills, we discuss all the points, all the different kind of skills. We spend some time understanding why they are required and all. So we equated these employability skills as the quality of a product. And these employability skills are called quality of a product. Just like an advertisement highlights the quality of a product, a resume will also highlight the quality of a product. So to be very precise, the market comes to know that you are existing in the market because of your resume. In the good olden times, you have to send resume to many companies. Even today, it is happening. But remember, we are currently seeing different ways how resumes are sent to companies. Now there are different formats. So we are going to see all those points in today's resume. So we are going to focus on 3 core areas. Why do we need a resume? What is a resume? And how do you produce a good resume? So I already answered the first question, why? Why is it needed? It is needed because it's your advertisement. So I have a simple question to you. Just try to imagine some advertisements, the advertisements you like. You should have seen a lot of advertisements in television. You should have seen a lot of advertisements in print media. So there are a lot of advertisements. What is the most important quality that you noticed in an advertisement that attracted you? Are there any advertisements that attracted your attention? Have you seen any advertisements which are really different? You must have seen. So there are plenty of such advertisements. If you have noticed, some advertisements drags our attention, and we won't forget certain advertisements. I would like to tell you an example of one advertisement. This is about a telephone company. When they launched their services, I'm talking about something happened some 15-20 years ago. They launched a product. They launched their telephone services. On the day 1 of their advertisement in newspaper, they gave a blank page. There was nothing on the page. There was nothing on the page. They gave a blank page. People all started thinking, what is this? The next day, again, they launched the advertisement, but without any text on it. So they simply put 1 or 2 words, welcome, something like. And the bottom, right-hand bottom side, they put some 3 orange colored, triangular shapes. So it again created some curiosity among people. They were waiting, what is it? And the third day, again, they kept the complete page almost blank. And in the right-hand bottom corner, just below those three orange color triangles, they put their name, Hutchinson, Hutch. So fourth day, they came out with the complete advertisement. So they created some curiosity. So an interest in an ad is created because of curiosity. So even after 20 years, I'm talking to you about an ad which I saw. And Hutch gradually became Vodafone. I think you all know that. And Hutch is not there now. It has become Vodafone. And again, Vodafone and Idea have merged. That's a different story altogether. But see, Vodafone continued this kind of an advertisement. They always focused on creating a different kind of advertisement. Again, you should remember, I think you'll be remembering the Vodafone ad. So before Vodafone, Hutch ad. So Hutch began using a dog in an ad. It has become very popular. Then they have started using Zuzus. Again, they became very popular. So see, such a very big company, how carefully they are designing their advertisements. So their intention is very simple. They want to reach as many customers as possible. See, they are not, they know very clearly that with one ad, they are going to get a connection immediately. No, their target is not that. Their target is to reach maximum customer base. So that is the ultimate objective of an advertisement. So the advertisement attracts people. So here I discussed how does the advertisement attract people. Very simple. I gave you the answer. There must be some element of curiosity in the advertisement. So at the same time, you must design your advertisement in such a manner it attracts the attention of the people. So this is what they followed. So if that is a principle of an advertisement, that's the same thing what we also have to follow. So we have to go for our advertisement. So when we design our advertisement, what is our advertisement? Our advertisement is resume. When we design our own advertisement, we also have to keep all these points in our mind. So let us try to understand why we need it. We already answered why we need it, but let us see what is the exact purpose of this advertisement. So the advertisement of Hutchinson's, the advertisements of Vodafone positioned them in the market. People started discussing it. The same thing should happen in your case also. So when people look at your resume, you must create some kind of impact. Okay. So there is a misconception among people saying that some students ask me, sir, if I write a good resume, if I can produce a good resume, do you get a job? No. If you write a good job, if you write a good resume, you will get a call. You will be invited for an interview. And if you live up to your resume, yes, you may get a job. There are two things here to be noted. You have to live your resume, not leave your resume. If you leave your resume and everybody is stable, okay, we cannot say whether it gets you a job or not. But when you live your resume, it will certainly get you a job. And that is the importance of a resume. So now I have answered the question number 2, that is, what does it do? It positions you, means it, to be very simple, let me put it in further simple words. It will give you, it doesn't give you any job, but it gives you a call. Call means interview call. And when you get a call, what you are expected to do is you have to live your resume. I said not leave. You have to live your resume before them. So that's the purpose of this resume. And resume is not a book. Resume is not a big document. In your case, resume is going to be a simple document. Okay, we'll go into those details later after answering this third question. And how to build it. And this is what we are going to do today. Okay, so I am not going to make it to write a resume now immediately. I'm going to give all the inputs that you require to make your resume. Okay, so let us go to the next slide. So these are the 3 things what we are going to focus to produce a good resume. The type of resume, the content, and the format. before you start writing. So by now, by this time, we all have come to a conclusion that yes, I have to produce a good resume. So let us redefine it. Let us not say it's a good resume. Let us say I am going to produce an effective resume, or I am going to produce a better resume. And what is the ultimate objective of this resume? It must position me in the market. It must get me a call, and I must get a chance to leave my resume. That's all. These are the objectives. So if these things have to happen, if you have to get a good job in a good company, remember your first step is to have a good resume. And this resume must be effective. So how to write an effective resume? This is what we are going to see now. So these are the three areas what we are going to focus. What is it? What are they? The type of resume you have to produce, the content of the resume, and the format of the resume. And to make an effective resume, these are the core areas we have to focus on. And now let us start with one second. Okay. Type. There are different types of resumes. We have functional resume, we have chronological resume. There are different methods. But before we go into those details, let us first try to understand about ourselves. What kind of people are we? I think you are not people. You are not people who have got 5 to 10 years of experience. So you are not an experienced person. You are a fresher. So a fresher must choose a suitable resume. So first, let us understand what is a functional resume. Functional resume speaks about the capabilities of an aspirant, the skills, the capabilities, the achievements, the history, where he has worked and all. So this is a functional resume. And chronological resume is again produced by a professional who has got at least 5 to 10 years of experience. Chronological resume presents the details about this aspirant in the chronological manner. So where has been he working? Last 2 years, before that, and before that. So he writes according to the years where he has worked. He writes about the current job first, the previous job next, the last job last. So he arranges everything in a chronological manner. So as a fresher, you don't have this much of information to present. So chronological is not suitable currently. Functional, you don't have lot of hands-on experience. You haven't solved any problems, and you haven't worked in any companies and all. So again, 100% is functional is also not possible sometimes. And so what kind of a resume should we write? So it is suggested that we write a combination of both of them. So we call it a combination resume. So it will have some features of functional resume and some features of chronological resume. Right. So how do we write a chronological resume? And moreover, you have to understand one more point. One second. One second, I'll be back. Okay. So why do we write a combination resume? Since you are a fresher, because see, we consider all of you listen, all the people listening to me are freshers. So a fresher requires a combination resume. A combination resume will write all your educational details in a chronological manner. But at the same time, you also present all the skills that you acquired through your education, the knowledge that you acquired through your engineering, the core competencies that you acquired, the skills that you acquired through your laboratories and all these also have to be highlighted, the competitions you have faced and all. So there is some element of functionality here and also some element of chronological. So this is actually an old method of describing what kind of resume you have to write, but those days are gone. Currently, we are also writing different formats of resume. Currently, resumes are uploaded and resumes are prepared on online, and currently some companies are shortlisting, not some, many companies are shortlisting candidates by uh, what is a machine reading the resumes. Machines will read the resume. Now you have got electronic format of resume. Printed format is now a formality. You carry it when you are going to be interviewed. So you need a resume. At the same time, you have to upload the resume for various companies. At the same time, some companies will ask you to fill in the data in their websites. So whatever may be the format, so you have to fill your data, your details. But when you produce a resume, a paper-based resume, you have to take extra care. So currently we are going to focus on the contents and the formatting, everything, keeping in mind that you are going to produce a paper-based resume. So that's why I'm going in that fashion. At the end, we'll discuss what should we do for the other formats of resumes. Right. Now let us go to the next point. Next point is, see, content. We are going to talk about the first. See, go to the previous slide. You will understand. So we are going to talk about type, content, and format. So we discussed the type. Now we are going to the content. So there are different pieces of contents that you have to put in. I'm trying to talk to you about all the most important contents that you have to put into your resume. And depending upon the necessity, you may sometimes add a few more contents or remove the contents what I told you, what we discussed. And these are the contents what any fresher's resume should contain. And you may add, as I told you, you may add a few more pieces of information which are really important. Or in some cases, if you think that, if you deem that it is not important, you can remove them. And remember, once again, these are all contents that has to be added, that are ideal for all the contents, all the pieces of contents I'm discussing are ideal for any fresher resume. So starting with the first content, that is your name. So name, only 2 points, name as it appears in your certificate or in your passport. And you are not expected to write your pet names or nicknames, short names and all. So it should be a complete name. If it is too long, you can abbreviate it, but you cannot change it. So this is a simple instruction for name. And people have, see, because this is youngsters are highly prone to style. So if somebody who doesn't know the value of a resume prepares a resume with a short name on it and you copy it, right? So you will be at loss. So this is a rule. It must be a complete name, clear name, right? And if it is too long, you can shorten it, you can abbreviate it, but you cannot change it, right? If you, for example, if your name is Krishna Chaitanya, it's better to write Krishna Chaitanya along with your surname. If your surname is too long, you can put K Krishna Chaitanya. That's okay. But you cannot write it KKC, or you cannot write KC, or you cannot write Chaitanya, or you cannot write Chaitu, or something like that. So you have to be very serious about it. And next content is your contact. All pieces of contact. So especially when you are producing a paper-based resume, the person who goes through that shouldn't find it difficult to locate your phone number, email ID, all these things. They must be very conspicuously present on the resume, especially the first page itself. And where do you want to present it? Where do you like to present it? Comes under formatting. Currently, we are focusing on contact. And see, look at the different pieces of contacts I identified there. Phone number. If you have two phone numbers, you can present it. Your email ID and your personal email ID, your address, that is your postal address, clear postal address. And nowadays, people are also asking you about your LinkedIn address. Sometimes people, some companies also ask you about your what do you call your Facebook account also, because your personality can be understood by looking into your uh, IDs, by looking into your what do you call uh, Facebook page or your LinkedIn profile and all. So you can provide it. And see, look at the three major pieces: phone number. And nowadays people have multiple phone numbers. And if you have a WhatsApp number, you can put a WhatsApp symbol beside it. You can add WhatsApp number also, because some companies uh, contact you through WhatsApp also. So your mail ID, your address. These are the most important pieces of contact. Next, third one, and this is the most important one: objective. Why do you write? Why are you writing a resume? So this point is clarified in the third step, that is objective. And in other words, you can say this is the living part of the first living part of the resume, or the key of the resume. And this is why, and this statement, this objective statement, this statement tells the recruiter, why did you write the resume? So anyhow, we write a resume because we need a job. So most of the people, let me share a few pieces of information I have with me, my experience. And most of the students who are not properly guided, they copy somebody's objective. It doesn't become your objective. This is point number one. And some people, some students end up writing a very vague kind of objective. They write something like this: I want to work for an organization which gives me an opportunity where I can grow. So this is a simple statement, but there is nothing in this objective. So where do you want to grow? How do you want to grow? Why do you want to get? So when do you get an opportunity to grow and all? This is put slightly abruptly. So an objective should not be abrupt. An objective should not be somebody else's. An objective should be 100% suitable to you. And to understand this, you must know a few facts. So let me use a whiteboard to tell you these things. Okay. So we are going to learn how to write a resume objective. As I told you, most of the students copy these objective. The first mistake what they do is they copy it. Or secondly, they write a vague kind of what is it, an objective, and these two will not help you. So first of all, why did we write a resume? We are actually writing a resume to get a job. And you simply go and ask a company to give a job, nobody will give you a job. A company gives you a job on the basis of certain criteria. And what is that criteria? The most important criteria they look at is, are you suitable to this job? That is, do you have the skills? And in which area you are suitable? Area means the field in which field you can work. So these are the things any company would like to understand when you apply for a company. And these are the same things you have to mention. Okay. And if you write an objective like this, looking for an opportunity, for some people write like this: looking for an opportunity where I can contribute for the overall development of the organization and something blah 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 like this. See here, how do you think it is a valid objective? What did you say? What position are you applying for in this company? You are saying something like this: opportunity where I can contribute for the overall development. Are you applying for the CEO job of this company? No. So you must be very clear what kind of job you are interested in. So this is where most of the resumes fail. So the moment somebody picks a resume into their hand, they'll understand whether this is a true objective or not. The honesty levels of the applicant is evaluated on the basis of the objective written on the resume. And if this is the kind of objective that you write, they will very clearly, very easily understand that you have either copied it from somebody or you wrote it for yourselves without understanding why you are applying. Hope you understood my point. So objective should be taken very seriously. So what are the most important aspects that you have to take care while writing the objective? Let us look here. You have to write about the job that you are applying for. Okay, let us do one thing. Let us try to write a simple and easy statement. Okay. So something I'm writing some small simple statement to. So you are actually writing this resume to get a job. What kind of job you are interested in? Let us try to write down the names of the job. You, for example, you are trying to become a programmer. So certainly this word must be there in your objective. And how can you become a programmer without skills? So what kind of a programmer are you? What is the area where you are good? And what are the other skills that you have? So programmer, have you got any skills program? So you said, I want to become a software developer, for example, okay. Or you want to become a software developer. So this is the most important skill that you need to have, programming. So under the skill section, you must use the word programming, or you have to use the word problem solving. Okay, so these are the words that must appear in the objective. Okay, some students ask me, sir, we don't know the exact positions they offer. Then how should we write? How can we write a very simple? You can write something like this: to obtain an entry level position in software development, where I can put to use my programming skills. You can say problem solving skills. And if you have any other important skill to be identified, you can write it here. So this much is enough. So obtain entry level position in the software development, where the field of software development, where I can put to use my programming skills or problem solving skills. Or if you want to highlight what kind of programming skills you have, you can write it here. My programming skills, sorry, you can write it here. You can write my programming skills in Java, my programming skills in Python, something like this. So you have to be very precise and exact. You should never try to be vague. And most of the objectives which I've seen are very vague. They are not clear. They don't mention anything. So this objective is also a kind of summary of what you are. So most of the recruiters do not spend more than 5 seconds on your resume. So you must attract their attention in the objective itself. So that's why you have to be very careful while writing the objective. Now let us go to the next slide. Okay, our objective is over. Now, what is the next one? Our education summary. There are different methods of presenting this education summary. Some people present it in a tabular form. Okay, it is easy for, see, when mass recruitment is taking place, a tabular form is always good, because too many people will be screened. In such a situation, it is easy for the recruiter to go through your marks, because initially they'll be focusing on your academic performances. So in such a situation, that scenario, as education summary presented in a tabular form is good. I think you understand what a tabular form is called. It's a five column table which provides the details about your course, your institution, your university, your year of pass, your percentage and all. So this is common. Otherwise, you can write it in sentences. That is also a good option. And this can be done especially when you present your resume in person. In such a situation, they'll have sufficient time to go through it. So there are different methods. So there is no fixed method. So currently we are not focusing on which method is better. Let us look at the content. So this is an important content. And coming to education summary, what are the most important pieces of information that you must compulsorily provide? So the course that you have undergone is compulsory. It is without that, anyhow, you cannot attract their attention. So you write the course. And after course, sometimes you also have to specify the discipline. Is it from CSC or IT? Okay, so that is also an important aspect. And this is next, the institution where you have studied. Let me tell you why this is important. So this is the company which produced you. This is the brand value. If you are from a wonderful college, what's wrong in naming it? You have to name it. And the university where you have, which affiliates you. University. Okay, these are all the pieces of information that you have to provide. The year of pass. It is to ascertain whether you are a fresher or not. And your CGPA. These are the basic pieces of details that you have to present. If you are presenting it in a tabular form, it's easy, because you can decide which box should contain what. It's easy. But when you write it in a sentence form, you have to be careful. Okay. So you have to phrase every sentence differently. For example, you're writing about your schooling. You can say finished schooling from so-and-so school in the years in so-and-so year. I'll write as example sentence here. School in say for example 2001 with 90%, and from which school. You can write the name of the school here, something like this. This is what you can do when you are presenting your data in sentence format. But as a fresher, especially as I told you, when you are presenting your resume in a mass recruitment kind of situation, it's better you go for a tabular form. And there are different other methods also. And I've seen people presenting in a pictorial form. So that's up to you. That depends upon your levels of creativity. And now let us go to the next point. Education summary is over. Certifications. And this is the age of certification. Yesterday somebody was asking you, certifications are important. Okay, I told you, certificates without knowledge is useless. And knowledge without certificate will not get attention. That's all. So if you have certifications, if you have done even a 1 week program or 1 month program, it is better to highlight them. So it will certainly draw the attention of the recruiter, especially if the certifications are relevant to the field of your study. For example, a mechanical engineering student is writing his resume, and if he has done a 1 month program or a 2 month certification program in CAD/CAM or something relevant to him, that is very much useful. You can highlight it. And when I say certification, I don't mean that you hold a certificate in karate. These are all extracurricular. You can put it primary section of your resume and the first page of your resume. So certifications. So when you write the certification, don't forget to write the name of the program and the kind of certification you have achieved and the certifying agency. So these three things are very important. Who certified you? Is it a national level institute? Is it a state level? What is the name of that institute? Also mention that, and don't forget to mention the year. So these are the 4 points you have to mention. What are they? Once again, let me remind you. So when you write about your resume, when you write about your certificate, you have to mention the skill that what you have. The skill is important. The skill and the title of that program. That is the name of that certification, the organization which had given you that certification, and the year. These are important things. So certified in CAD/CAM. Otherwise, you can write something like this. I'll write a sentence. I hold a certificate in the skill, the name of that skill, you call it drawing or something, drawing using CAD/CAM, something like that, CAD or CAD/CAM. I don't know the exact names, that's why I'm not writing it clearly. Using CAD/CAM from which company you mention it here. Or you can write like this also, certified in name of the skill and the organization, the year. So this is how you have to mention your certifications. So next, so this is the most important point. Most of the people do not mention it properly, and this project also comes under the primary part of your resume. And this is the area where we can highlight our professional qualities. And this is the thing, this is the component which presents you to the market as an experienced person, on par with an experienced person. When an experienced person writes a resume, he writes about the work he has done. That's why I call it a functional resume. When he writes a resume, he will highlight all the work that he has done, the kind of technologies he handled, the kind of responsibilities he handled. Everything is presented to the job title he highlights. As a fresher, we don't have that opportunity, but we may have the same kind of skills. So a fresher can use project to present yourselves on par with an experienced guy. So this is what we have to use. And how can we use it? What are the elements that we have to use while presenting a project? So while presenting a project, you have to be very careful. So there is a protocol to write it. And some people write say for example, a paragraph about the project. Yes, it includes every information, but don't expect everybody to be very patient to read whatever that you write. So first of all, whatever you write must catch the attention of the reader. So you must present it in a pleasing manner. First of all, it must be pleasing to his eyes. And next thing, it must be easy for him to grab the information from the project. It's a project that you have done, maybe a mini project, a minor project, or a major project. In a major project, you may take 6 weeks or 6 months to finish it. So you may have a lot many things to write about your project, but writing everything in the resume is not right. You have to only create some curiosity in the reader. So the reader must ask you questions. And when he asks you a question about the project, it is your time now. When the recruiter asks you some question about the project, then you must enthusiastically answer it. This is what that should happen when you present your project in your resume. So then how can we present this project in our resume? So there is a protocol. Protocol means, again, the most important elements that you should never miss. So I'm going to write a few important components that you should never miss. So the title, anyhow, you should not miss the title. Next one is, you have to mention the technologies that you have used. And sometimes you do a project in consultation with a company or as part of a company, then you can also mention the name of the company. So these three things become part of the preliminary information about your project. And next, the next important part, the most important part. See, you have used certain technologies and you work for a company. Most important part is, what are your key learnings? What did you do? Why did you do this project? Key learnings. Or the purpose of this project. So that can be mentioned before the key learning. Why did you do it? So this is sentence 1 and this is sentence 2, 2 sentences. There ends the matter. So you can, and there are a few more pieces of information, like some people say the size of the, size of the team. Is it a team project or not? Or the duration of the project. All these things can be included into your statements. So while writing the purpose itself, you can write the purpose of the 6-week team project is, you can write like that. So you need not put some other extra words, because the size of the team or the duration is not that important. The most important aspect of your project is the technologies you used. How did you do it? How did you solve the problem? Because you did a project to solve the problem. So how did you solve the problem? Okay, that comes in purpose. And key learnings. By doing this project, what have you learned? So again, when it comes to key learning, the two things what you have to focus on. There are two things that you have to focus. One, that you have to mention. See, that the things that you have learned, the hard skills, the hard skills that you have learned because of your technologies, that must be there. And second one, the soft skills that you have learned. Because if you say it is a team activity, you can say that by doing this project, you have acquired team building skills and all. You need not mention it openly. This is what you have to keep in your mind, and this is what you have to answer when you face the interview. So the other thing, the key learnings are, you have learned how to manage, how to organize, how to plan, how to conduct team meetings, and how to schedule. These are the key learnings. That's the second type of key learning. First type of key learning is very clear, the way you have learned the technology, because you have learned how to program. But when you use this programming skill to build a solution, what are the extra things that you have learned? These are the things that you have to highlight, and these are the things you have to present when you face an interview. So you have to write the project in that manner. If you don't write like that, you put information that you know in the project, and when it goes to the table of the interviewer, okay, he won't get a clear idea about it. So what does he do? He will frame his own questions and he will ask whatever he likes. But when you write your project in a clear-cut manner, the questions will be based on what you wrote. But if you don't take care and you write your project in a flip-flop in a shabby manner, it doesn't give this recruiter to create a clear probing question. If you mention that you have used a particular kind of technology or a particular kind of platform, questions will come only from there. So you can easily answer them. So that's why you have to take care about this project. So that's the sixth element of your resume. And next, core competencies. If you have missed any opportunity to mention the kind of skills that you have acquired in your project or in certification, and this is the area. And This is the area where you have to mention your most important skills. The most important skills every recruiter should look at. Your most important skills that you would like to present very clearly. You want to make very obvious to the recruiter. Those skills which you want your recruiter to take note of. So you write these skills, and you don't write too many skills here. You please analyze, as I told you yesterday, you please analyze what are your strengths, what are the, in which area you are very good. And for instance, you take civil engineering graduates, what are you good at? And at the same time, you also should remember what kind of company you are applying for. And for example, you take this civil engineering student, if the company requires some surveying skills, yes, you mention it, surveying skills. So if you know how to use these packages, that is drawing packages, these softwares, you mention that using those things are your skills. Besides that, also mention one or two soft skills, like your ability to build a team working skills, or your communication skills. Please write these kind of skills. So there are two parts here. Core competencies, you mention the hard skills first, soft skills next. So you need not put certain side headings. You can use bullet points and present it, so that the recruiter gets an opportunity to see the most important skills that you want to highlight, the most important skills you want to showcase. So this is the purpose of core competencies. Otherwise, if you believe that all your most important core competencies are already mentioned in your project or somewhere else, okay, you can avoid it. But I suggest you can put this component. Next one. So almost the primary part of your resume is over. Now you are getting into the secondary part. So the secondary part is actually present in the resume to support your primary part. So a recruiter is looking for a complete person. So we are using this resume to present ourselves as a complete person. So these are the next few components what I'm going to talk to you, which I'm going to present here, are components which will present, which will support whatever that you have claimed in your first part. So these qualities are also important. And these qualities will give the recruiter an idea what kind of a person you are, especially when you are not before him. And when you go before him, you will try to check, that's all. So let us see what are the things that you can include into your activities. So let us categorize them. Coming to activities, so you can mention many things, and you can mention about certain extracurricular activities. See the kind of you can write about the paper presentations. Sorry, the paper presentations you have made, even curricular or extracurricular. So the seminars that you have attended. Every time when you write, see, the title is important. If you have attended a seminar, try to highlight the technology, what you have learned there, or the workshops you have attended. So these are certain curriculum related aspects. And you can also write about the quizzes you have participated, or the debates, these kind of things, the competitions. For example, in the first category, you can also write about the poster presentations you have made, or the technical quizzes you have participated. These are all the activities. And next, coming to it, you can write about, for example, a few of you are NCC cadets, you can write it NSS cadets, or even if you are a member of your student activity council of your college, you can mention it, the kind of activities that you have done. And you have to use all these elements to highlight certain skills in you, not to mention, this is not actually a history section. You are not providing them the details of the activities that you have presented, that you have participated in a chronological way. This is not to tell you that in 2016 I went there, 2017 I went there. No, that's not the purpose of these activities. The purpose of the activities is again to highlight certain skills in you, certain qualities in you. So you can use NCC activities, NSS activities, or any other important activities that happen in your college, and the role that you have played in it. So these can be included in your activities. You can also write about, you have to write if you are part of a fine arts team of your college. So if you are into drama, you can mention your singing, all kind of things, painting, everything. So some colleges will have clubs in their college. So write about those club activities here, and don't write about things what you have done in your school days. Say in your LKG, UKG, you participated in some. No, they are not useful. Try to write about things that what you have done in the past 3-4 years. So these fine arts can be written, and you also can write about the sports, the sporting activities. So sport means the participations, the school, college level, the zone level, whether you have captained your college cricket team, or you are a member of the cricket team, or you are an athletic. All these things can be mentioned. So see how many different types of things you can mention. Yeah, you can mention about your curricular things. You can mention your co-curricular things. You can write about your extracurricular things. Right. All these things can be written in your activities section. But don't flood it with too many things. Only write most important things. If you think that you have presented many papers, you have attended many seminars, you participated in many workshops, you do one thing, try to put it under a separate category. Before activities, try to write about, if they really include any kind of research activities, try to put a separate heading called research activities, or try to put about put a different title like paper presentations. So try to highlight those things separately. If you haven't attended too many paper presentations, include it in your activities. So you can write many things. Don't try to flood it with a lot many information. Try to present most important information that you can defend when you go to the interview. This is the criteria. Write only those things you can defend. Since writing all these things give you some kind of value, thinking that people will consider you as a highly intelligent student. If you write so many things, too many things, remember when you go to the interview, if you fail to protect yourselves, defend yourselves, you will be a failure. You can't impress them. You write too many things, and if you don't defend yourselves when they ask you questions, it will be again a failure. So write only those things which you are really interested in, which you have participated in. Try to mention them and try to highlight some skills in it. For instance, I'll give you one example here. If you take any college activities, you can write that you have organized some events. So here you're highlighting your organization skills. And you have participated in NSS activities or NCC activities. See, for example, you're writing about NCC, you can write participated in a 1 week national camp, something like that. So if you highlight it, you can speak about it. You can answer those questions. You have participated in a 1 week weapon assembling camp. Yes, he may ask you a question about weapon. You can talk about the weapon that you have handled. So it gives you weightage. So this is the purpose of activities. Now let us go to the next component. Next component is accomplishment or achievements. So this is slightly connected to your activities. So in these accomplishments, you can write all the accomplishments that you have achieved. Especially try to focus on the achievements that you have got in your BTech, or at least in your schooling, at least from 10th onwards. So coming to your BTech, you can write about the achievements that you have made during your 4 years of study. So you can write that you stood first in so and so subject in so and so semester. That can be written. You stood first in the college. All these things can be mentioned in your accomplishments. Besides that, you can also write about accomplishments, the achievements that you have made in your other activities. For instance, you represented your college in any sporting activity. You can write about it. You can say that you stood as the best cadet in NCC. That is also an achievement. And you can write about the first prize or the second prize you got in your drama or in your singing. All these things can be written here. So this section highlights you that you are a performer. So that's the purpose of these accomplishments. And if you think you don't have any serious accomplishments, okay, you can avoid this section. You can remove it completely, right? So don't write just for the sake, because I told you that there must be a section called accomplishment. If you don't have any accomplishments to be highlighted, or if you think that I don't have that kind of an accomplishment which I can defend, okay, don't go for it. But this is a wonderful section to highlight yourselves as an achiever, as a performer, as a fighter, as a leader. So you can use this section. Now next one, interests, to present the other side of the coin. So what kind of a person you are. So you can write about your hobbies, you can write about your spare time activities or likes, all these kind of things. So, but while writing it, you must be precise. You must be clear. I'll give you an example. Most of the people write reading books. This is as a one hobby, or watching movies. So these are not accepted as hobbies or spare time activities. These are not serious things. You must be very clear. For instance, some people, most of the people, these are the three things what I find in every resume: reading books, listening to music, watching movies, or watching TV. These are the four things what I get to read. But these are not very clear. And every time the interviewer will have to ask more questions to understand what kind of a person you are. So instead of it, give him a clear understanding. So for example, you like music, try to write, I like to listen to old Telugu classics, or I like to listen to Muhammad Rafi songs, and I like to listen to Ilayaraja music. So present it like that. So you will get a question only about it. Imagine the person who is interviewing you is a North Indian, and you wrote, I like to listen to Ghantasala songs. He will ask you who is Ghantasala. Then you can speak about Ghantasala. And if you write, I like to listen to Muhammad Rafi songs. If you really like it, if you know about Muhammad Rafi and you write it, and if the interviewer is a North Indian, he will ask you questions about Muhammad Rafi. Probably he also knows about Muhammad Rafi. So you must be ready. So this is a way how you have to present your hobbies or spare time activities. When you write reading, try to write what kind of books you like to read. Like to read detective novels, reading detective novels, something like that. Don't write reading books. Everything is a book. Okay, even Bhagavad Gita is a book, Bible is a book. What do you like to read? So you mention it clearly. And this is the care that you have to take when you mention interests. Next, your traits, the kind of qualities. Yesterday we discussed a few qualities. Try to mention a few. Don't write too many. So what kind of a person you are? So people will have different kind of judgments about you. But according to you, what kind of a person you are? So don't write points like this, extremely kind. Those things are not important here. Try to highlight some professional qualities. I'll tell you a few. For example, see, hardworking, honesty, sincere, these are all common. You need not highlight them. It is expected everybody to be honest. It is expected everybody to be sincere. Other than that, try to write some interesting qualities in you. For example, you can write, I'm cool. You can write, I'm fun-loving. You can write, I'm sociable or mingling, something like that. These kind of qualities. Try to write 2 or 3. That's all, not more than that. And most important, don't write any 3. Don't write any 2. Please write those 2 or 3 qualities which you think you possess and which you think should be highlighted and which you think can attract the attention of the recruiter. These are the points that you can mention. Right. Next, your personal information. Your personal information includes your name. Your name is already there on the top of your resume. Your parents, father and mother, your date of birth, your gender, your marital status. That's all. That's enough. The languages that you speak. Okay, that's all. You need not write. If you are sending this resume to any company in India, you need not write your your nationality, because it is there in India itself. If you are sending it outside, okay, you have to write your nationality. In that case, if you are sharing it with some foreign companies, you also have to sometimes write your passport number if required, or you have to mention passport number shall be provided if required. So it's because they need they need to know whether you have a passport and all. All these points come under personal information. So once again, your parents' names, your date of birth, your gender, your marital status, because some companies would like to know whether you are married or not. Then the languages that you can speak, because companies, for example, you take TCS or Infosys kind of software companies, they have got operations in every part of this country. So can you speak? See, if you know a language more than your mother tongue, okay, everybody has to present that they know English. Besides English, if you know Hindi, it becomes easy for you to mingle with people, a group of people where you are put for training. So to know whether you are capable to communicate in other languages, you can mention the languages that you know. So there ends your personal information. And in some cases, in most of the people write their address again here, not necessary exactly, but if you think that you have 2 addresses, The first one is the current address, and if you want to write that you have another address which is permanent, which can be considered as a fixed address, you can mention it. Right. Next, let's go to the next one. References. This is also an important section. Most of the youngsters, most of the freshers are not using it, but you can use it even after leaving the college. You can use some references. References are those pieces of information about the people who can speak about you. For instance, you write the name of your faculty member who taught you the 2 or 3 subjects, and he recognizes you. There is nothing wrong in mentioning his name in the resume, but with prior permission. So you must take permission from your faculty member and write his details, provide his details. And every detail is not important. The name of the professor, the name, his designation, the department, and his email ID and phone number. These are the pieces of information that you can put. And you can give more than one references also. One reference can be from your college and another reference can be from outside. But the second reference what you give should not be from your family. It should be again a professional who can speak about you. So these are good things. You can mention, if you are not willing to provide references, you can write a sentence. References can be provided and request. So that can be added. Otherwise, you don't have any problem in providing references. You can write it. You can write it in a linear manner. You need not put it in a table. You can write the name, comma designation, comma department. Sorry, I forgot to write one more element here. The organization. So write about, mention the names of those people who can speak about you, who remembers you. The moment a call comes from a company and asks, see, sir, we are calling from so-and-so company. Do you know Mr. Rajesh? Yes, immediately he should be in a position to recognize you and say a few words. Certainly every faculty will say positive things about you, but he must remember you and he must add a few things that you also have mentioned in your resume. So it's better you give a copy of resume to your faculty member also. So these are professional things. So this is a section, last section. One more section is there. There is a closing. Closing is nothing but your name, signature, and date. That's all. So if you are giving it by hand, you have to sign it and give. If you are sending it by mail, okay, you cannot anyhow put your signature. You can send it or you can upload it. So these are the 15 components, the most important 15 components of your resume. And next part, last part is how to format it. And I would like to tell you a few things here because of the advent of a lot of advanced technologies. You can produce different styles of different types of resumes. But whenever you produce a resume, the most important point that you should bear in your mind is it must be impressive. Means it must make an impression on the reader. That it can be impressive only if it can be effective. So it can be effective only if you can make it a bit curious, or if you make it a bit pleasing to the eyes of the reader. So to make it pleasing, to make it curious, or to make it effective, so that you can impress the reader, you have to take care about the formatting also. You dump all your information in a piece of paper and throw it as a piece of a resume. Yes, certainly it holds all the information that you require to communicate. But it will be a Herculean task for the recruiter to find out all the most important piece of information from your resume. So in such a situation, you have to create a pleasing resume, which must be pleasing to the eyes. So how can we do it? We can do it by following these 4 steps. Choose a good theme. let me spend a few minutes on talking to you about themes. A theme, there are different themes available on internet. Choose a theme which is suitable. First of all, there are most of the resume themes what they present on internet are for professionals. So choose one, professionals in the sense experienced people. Choose a theme which is suitable to you, and don't choose a theme which is too gaudy, too colorful. It's not required. So try to choose a simple theme, interesting theme, which is very easy for any reader to go through. And then when we in fixed templates, there is nothing much you need to do as far as margins or spacing are concerned. If you are downloading a theme and filling your data, margin, spacing, font, everything is already taken care of by the creator of the template. If you are creating your own resume using Word document, you have to be careful about the margins. So fix the margins. Don't let the text go out of the margin. Okay, and also follow proper spacing between your lines. Okay, and let me give you a simple method. For example, you're writing your resume in, you're preparing a resume using a Word document. There is an option in Word called View, a grid view. Once you prepare your resume, open that grid view, press on it, click on it, and it will show a grid view on your resume, and you can see how many lines have gone out of the margin and all. So you can fix your margins. Don't let things go out of the margins, right? And leave sufficient space on the top, bottom, and on both left and right places. Leave more space on the left side, because sometimes these resumes are punched and preserved in files. So give some space on it, or they write something on in the margins. So provide certain sufficient margins. And coming to spacing, so follow certain spacing. Say all the lines, between all the lines, if you want to give one line or 1.5 line spacing or 2 line spacing, please decide it beforehand. If you have lot of data, then you can reduce the spacing. And coming to font, choose an appropriate font style and font size. Okay, for example, you are taking Times New Roman. So what size should we take? So take, say 12 is ideal. Or if you want to keep, if you have more data, 12 for the headings, 10 for the text. It looks small, so go for an alternative font. Try to choose a best font. See, all these, you currently, internet will give you a lot of help in this area, but you have to follow uniformity. I want to tell you only one thing. Coming to font, you have to follow uniformity. There are 2 methods. All the headings can be put in one font and the text can be in another font. This is one style. Otherwise, every text in the resume is presented in the same font. Using the same font, the entire text, are 2 fonts, but don't use more than that 2 fonts. And font size. These are the most important aspects that you have to take care. And I would like to show you a few themes. See, these I have picked from internet. This is one theme. And as I told you, this is again, I think this can be used to see. It began with work history. Work history means it is for an experienced person. You can replace it with your academic summary. You can write it. You can present your scholastic summary. That is your education summary here. So this is one style. Look at the second one. I did not use any color, but for contact, they used symbols. So you can use these symbols. This is one style. And see one more. See the first one, they used the margin, they colored the margin with blue. And then third one, they put the margin on the right side. So any method you can follow. One more template is there. See, this is slightly picturesque. So there are different kinds of methods. And when it comes to your scholastic summary, I have seen a resume where a student presented 3 circles, 3 pie charts for their SSC marks, SSC percentage, intermediate percentage, and UG percentage. They used pie chart kind of circles. So in the front page itself, some pictures are appearing. So it might be interesting to, sometimes it will be interesting to the recruiter. So please choose. And my suggestion is try to prepare your resume in multiple themes, using different themes. And then put all your resumes in your Google Docs, and you can edit it there. And basing on the company you are presenting your resume to, change the objective, take a printout and present it. This is the normal process you have to follow. And with this, I've come to the end of my presentation about the components of resume. In this presentation, I spoke to you about the themes that you can use for resume, the contents that you have to use for your resume, and the formatting style. So this is about resume writing. And after writing a resume, you have to remember one thing. Please avoid taking a printout of your resume on the day of your interview. Please make sufficient copies. First, prepare a normal resume with all your data. Then try to use different templates or different themes and prepare a resume. And try to prepare a resume, a one-page resume. If you can use this kind, the last template or the previous template, you can finish your resume, because since you are a fresher, you can finish your resume in one page. One-page resume is enough. If you think there is so many other things to be, so many more important things to be presented, then you can go for a two-page resume. That's all. My maximum size is 2-page. So first prepare it. Prepare your resume in using multiple themes, and show your resume to your faculty. And if it should not look too odd. It should look a bit curious, interesting, but it should not look too odd. Show it. Use that theme for your companies. Preserve it in your mail ID or in your Google Drive, so that you can, if you preserve it in your mail ID, you have to download it and you have to change it. But if you prepare all the models and put it in your Google Docs, you can change it at any moment and get a printout of it. This is one method. And besides this, I also would like to tell you a few more other important things. Create a professional looking email ID. Okay. If your name is, as I told you, Krishna Chaitanya, try to create a mail ID using krishnachaitanya@gmail.com. If you don't get krishna.chaitanya@gmail.com, use your surname. Don't put any extra things into your email ID. Don't write funny things. Don't write. See, I saw a resume, I saw a mail ID where one of the students put a word like crazy Ranjit. Somebody wrote, love me Ranjit. So these kind of things have to be avoided. They don't look professional. So your email ID must look professional. So create a professional looking email ID. That's point one. Next, also create a LinkedIn ID and provide all the information that you presented in your resume. You prepare your profile using the same kind of data. You prepare your LinkedIn ID. So your LinkedIn ID must be talking about, LinkedIn profile must be talking about the same things what you mentioned in your resume. So prepare a LinkedIn ID and present it in your resume. Two things. Next, if you're giving, you may have these days, youngsters have multiple phone numbers, 5 to 6. I know some of my students having multiple phone numbers. So please present that phone number which you will never switch off, and present that phone number. My suggestion is have one phone number which is also used for WhatsApp. Please present it in your resume. These are the important steps. You call it steps or care that you have to take before you present your resume. So one is your telephone number, your mail ID. Your telephone number is always connected. A connected telephone number, a professional looking email ID, your LinkedIn ID. Next, some companies are also asking for Facebook IDs. So it's personal, but it's also public. So people have created, I know I have seen a lot of Facebook pages where you share so many things. So do one thing. If you have that kind of a Facebook page, don't share it. You create another page, and please keep your Facebook page also a professionally looking Facebook page where you have shared things which are related to technology or history, music kind of things. So try to present yourselves as a genuine, interesting candidate. You should appear, you are really a wonderful guy. You are really a good student. You are really a serious student. But because of the kind of shares that you have done on your Facebook page, the kind of comments that you have made, the kind of language that you have used to make comments against somebody, so it creates a bad impression. So even if you do not give your Facebook page, it's not easy to search for it. So try to keep your Facebook page also clean and dignified. This is a suggestion. And next, scan all your certificate copies, scan both sides, and upload it to your digital locker. I think you all know there is something called DigiLocker. DigiLocker is a provision given by Government of India. You can, if you don't have a DigiLocker, you can immediately open it using your Aadhaar number. So it's a website created by Government of India. So you can upload all your certificates. You can even upload your resume into it, your passport size photos, everything into your DigiLocker. In future, people will not ask you to carry your certificate. They will ask you to provide the link. And after uploading all your certificates, original certificate, copies of original certificates, remember, you have to e-sign it. And once you open your DigiLocker, automatically, if you have a PAN, it will come into your DigiLocker. Your Aadhaar copy will automatically come into it. You need not search for your Aadhaar card here and there. Your DigiLocker will have it. And you can pull your SSC certificate into it. If you are from CBSE, your CBSE certificate will automatically come to your DigiLocker. Your driving license will come there. You can use this DigiLocker to show your driving license also. And you can put this, the app, if you go to the App Store, you'll get the DigiLocker app. You install it in your computer. You can show your certificates in your phone also. This is the next thing you have to do. These are certain important things what every engineering graduate should do before they start their job trials. So your certificates are intact there, your resume is ready, your mail ID is looking very positive, a positive looking, a professional looking mail ID is there, everything is set right. And then your resume goes to your table, you get a call, okay, and you answer it. And once your answering is over, they check your LinkedIn ID, and then they may check your Facebook ID. All these things are possible. So don't think that nobody is seeing us. We are living in a digital world. Every time you enter internet and do something in your Facebook, remember you are leaving a digital footprint. So you must have positive digital footprints. So don't try to leave any negative digital footprints. And nowadays, people also have Instagram IDs and all. Try to keep it as positive as possible and as dignified as possible. And try avoid sharing, using bad language in your shares, in your comment section and all. So these are the extra pieces of, you call it suggestion or you can call it advice. This is what I wanted to tell you. And I have come to the end of my talk. And now if you have questions, you can raise. Sir. Hello?
Yes, sir. Hello? Sir.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Now they can ask me any questions if they have.
Yeah. Sir, how to prepare, how to prepare resume for different jobs. Mechanical student applying for IT job and care job.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you repeat, sir?
How to prepare resume for different jobs. Mechanical student applying for IT job and core job.
How to prepare?
Yeah, but some IT companies are not preferring objective, sir.
IT, for instance, if a mechanical engineering student applying for an IT company.
IT company or IT company and core job. Both. See,
when they are applying for a core job, they have to mention their own skills. See, for example, they are writing their objective. They have to mention at least 1 or 2 core skills from mechanical engineering. So what are the core skills of any mechanical engineering student? That should be mentioned. That's enough.
Sir, can you share sample resumes?
Sample resumes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I'll download a few and I'll share it to you, sir.
Okay. All the students, if you have any doubts, please type in the chat box.
Somebody wrote that, so I didn't see it at 10:33. I don't know. Somebody wrote to speak loudly.
Sir, we are hearing it clearly.
Okay. So somebody said how many pages? Maximum 2.
Yeah.
2 pages. Is learning more languages become a big plus for employment? See, if you have got more skills, okay, it certainly is an advantage. And but think there are 2 things here. You want to present yourself as a jack of all trades and master of none, or you want to present yourself as master of one. It has to be decided by you. If you think that you are good in Python and you are excellent in Python, try to project it. So even if you do not know C or you are not good in Java, it doesn't make any difference, because you are excellent in Python. You can solve any problem in Python. That's enough. Otherwise, if you have good exposure to Java, C also, mention it. There is nothing wrong in it. And there is one question, but some IT companies are preferring objective, sir. Objective, yes, they don't prefer objective when you write it as career objective. You are not writing a resume to tell him what kind of career you are going to present, what kind of career you are going to build. He is not interested in what kind of career you are going to build. He is interested in what kind of skills you have.
Hello, sir.